Guys, there was so much going into the main event on both guys. Look, we all know the Walt Harris story. It's a very tough story to even speak about. He lost his daughter, and by the way, that wasn't all that long ago. He's in a grieving process. I can tell you, grief is much different than I don't feel good today or I'm depressed. Grief would be the most extreme end of those, and it's very rare. To actually grieve and go through grief, you kind of have to have something like what happened to Walt. It's got to be a death. Very tough. He pushed through a full training camp. He made Walt's a big guy. Walt has to make weight. Before you think, well, it was heavyweight. No, Walt has to do things with discipline and do them right. A very big guy. He's just barely makes the heavyweight limit, but he achieved these things. Then he goes in there with Overeem. Overeem's got more skills and more wins and more damn experience than anybody in the sport right now. And Walt almost beat him. Walt swarmed him. You got to understand, Walt does something very well, which is he has two paces. And the great athletes always do. The great athletes will always come at you with one pace and get you used to it. Boom, and they'll explode. And then they'll go right back to a different pace. Boom, then they'll explode again. That's what Walt does so well. Walt did it to Reem. He did about a minute into the fight with Reem. All of a sudden, Walt explodes. Boom, boom, Reem goes down. Walt comes on top and he's pounding away. And Reem, I guess, got away with intelligent defense. But Overeem was covering up, doing what's called the shield, and he was laying there. I would only offer one critique to Overeem, which is next time you do that, which was great, but move a little bit. Just give a little bit of movement. You don't have to take those shots on your hands and just see which ones are going to break through your shield. Sometimes you can move and make some of those miss. At any rate, Reem ends up faking as though he's going to go for a heel hook, or perhaps he was going for a heel hook. Either way, he got the reaction from Walt. Walt turned his back to try to pull his leg out. Good heel hook defense, but Reem used that to come up. And all of a sudden, what a difference a day makes. This is all in the same round, mind you. Reem ends up on top for about 2.5 to 3 minutes, and he's pounding and he's smothering. Now, this comes back to the most classic debate. Who wins that round? It's damage versus time. You have damage done by Walt, a knockdown and a swarm that was this close to having a fight stop, opens up a cut, blood coming down Reem's face, but that only lasted for 30 seconds or less. You then have just under 3 minutes of absolute control by Reem. So it comes down to time of the fight that you won, which was over 3 minutes for Reem, versus damage in the fight, which would go to Walt of the round. I don't know who the judges gave it to, but it's a very interesting question. I think without question, it's Reem. I think that Reem was doing more damage. He was landing more shots. He had better control, and he was there much longer. He was also put Walt in a fight-ending position. When you're grounding and pounding a guy from an advantage point with his wrist trapped and absolutely no blows coming back, that guy is now eligible to be a TKO victim. So I would argue that without question it would be Reem, but many people would push back. Many people would say, no, there was a knockdown. The knockdown has to matter. Maybe it does. I don't know the rule on that, but I would offer for you that's more of a boxing concept than it is MMA. We've seen guys get a knockdown, never get knocked down themselves, and lose that round. Go see Uriah Faber versus Dominic Cruz. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So there is a precedent set for that, but that's really a side note. Look, they go into the second round, and Reem is now a little bit more adjusted. And one thing that Overeem does very well is he will keep you guessing. He will use a shot to set up a shot. Reem will very seldomly hit you with something powerful and then stand there and look at it and think, oh, wasn't that great what I did? He will generally hit you with something and come right back with something else. Well, that's what he did to Walt. He throws a head kick and he gets Walt's attention. Walt stumbles a little bit, but as soon as Reem brings his foot down, he's got a big cross coming right over the top, lands right on the jaw, puts Walt down. From that point to the stoppage of the fight, you could have stopped it anywhere you wanted. Ultimately, Reem got on top. He was smothering. Plus, Walt's a little bit tired now. Plus, he's got Walt up against the fence. Then you got Reem on top. He puts both hooks in. He flattens him out. And Reem was definitely being a sport. I mean, Reem was showing kindness. Reem knew you're not going anywhere. No chance you are going anywhere. We are going to be here for a period of time with me hitting you however hard I want to hit you. And Reem elected to not hit all that hard. He did. Reem deserves a lot of credit for that. Because you have to understand, guys, if that fight wasn't stopped in that round, Reem's facing 15 more minutes of work that night in a battle with heavyweights where anything can happen. Either way, fight comes to a conclusion. Overeem was not overly celebratory. It was a very sobering and somber moment for everybody involved. And I think that Walt, who was the final interview of the evening, made everybody feel a little bit better. He was very gracious. He said his piece. He thanked the people he needed to thank. And then he informed the audience, look, I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to get better. I got to go home. I got to heal emotionally. I got to heal physically. I promise you I will be better. And you guys know what? I believe him.